Many of you are practicing improvisation wrong. You work on your scales, you work on your modes, you work on your arpeggios, you work on your theory, and then when it's time to actually solo or step up and improvise, you can't do it. Here's why. You're practicing information, and the great players, they develop their skills. See, there are only two skills that really matter in improvisation, especially when it's jazz, and that's listening and reacting. That's it. Everything else, it's kind of just noise. And the great players, when they practice improvisation, they limit what they play so they can develop those two skills. They listen to what they just played, and then they react to it. Now, I call this the 3L framework. Limit, listen, and then launch or play. So if you want to stop sounding random, if you want to start telling actual musical stories and develop theme and variation when you solo, pay attention. This video might change everything for you. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Lorin, Cohen here, and I spent my career playing with great players in the field of jazz as well as in R&B and funk, and I help bassists move from confusion to confidence when it comes to improvisation in my Bass Improv Mastery program, which you can click on below to learn more about. Now, one of the biggest problems I see is that bass players practice information. They don't practice music. They practice scales, patterns, but when it comes time to solo, it sort of all falls apart. And that's because great improvisation isn't really about complex notes. It's about developing the skill of listening and reacting in real time, telling a story that unfolds naturally, phrase by phrase, and developing theme and variation. That's what the 3L framework we're going to talk about today teaches you, how to listen to yourself and react musically, which is what every great solo is built on. Let's dive in. Okay, so the first L of our 3L framework is the L for limit. Now, some people call this restrictive practicing, and this is the idea that we're just not going to do everything that's out there. We're not going to do all the things. Okay, we are going to just limit what we're going to work on. We're just going to put one thing on our palette that we're working with for our practice session. In jazz, there's so many options. There's so many possibilities. If you don't do this, you can really start to fall into the paralysis of analysis, where you're just so overwhelmed and you just sort of give up. So to really work on our improvisation, for this framework, we are going to limit what we're working with. Now, this could be a triad, this could be an arpeggio, this could be a scale, this could be just one note, right? Just like we're just going to improvise with the root and just create as much music with that root as we can. For today, we're going to do this using just a simple triad and a chord. We're going to do this on a static chord. And this is the way I recommend you practice this at first, to really start developing these skills slowly, and then that will allow us to speed it up. So let's take a static chord. Let's take G minor 7th. And if you've watched my videos before, you know that one of my favorite sounds when I have a minor 7th chord, one of my favorite things to play on it is to work around a minor triad from the 5th degree. So if our chord is G minor 7th, we're going to be thinking about a D minor triad. Okay, or I play it down lower. Okay, so that's what we're putting on our palette for this practice session. We are limiting ourselves to just this sound, just a D minor triad. Now, we're going to keep this really simple today and basically play this in root position. But remember, anytime you have a triad, you've got your inversions of your triad, right? I've got from the 3rd, from the 5th, okay? I've got permutations of my triads. So I've got 1-3-5, I've got 1-5-3, I've got 3-1-5, 3-5-1, etc., right? I've got those permutations. There's so much you can work with just triads. But we are limiting ourselves to just this sound so we can focus on listening to what we're playing, reacting to what we play, and having our solos tell the story. Probably the most common example that people know about is Miles Davis's solo on So What, right? On So What, he plays... Every idea is connected, all right? He's kind of limiting himself. I don't know if he did this consciously, but he is very aware that this is the sound. This is the sound on his palette for the moment, okay? And he plays all just D minor stuff. Now we're in a different context, different chord quality than what we're really going to work on, but just to give you something to go check out for one of the greatest, maybe the greatest example of why Miles Davis is such a genius in terms of telling a story, taking this simple character, this D minor character, on a journey. All in D minor. Kind of D-Dorian, right? But so that's a classic example of limit, of this first L of limit. Okay, so he's just thinking D minor. Check that solo out again. Now, for our purposes, we're in G minor, okay? We're thinking D minor over G minor. We're just going to use the D minor sounder. That D is my fifth, F is my seventh, A is my ninth. Get that nice money note in there, that color tone, that ninth for G minor, that A. So that is limit. We're just going to limit what we have on our palette, put one piece of information on our palette that we're going to work with. So now moving through this framework, we've limited what we're going to work on. We've limited what we're going to use. Okay, now we're going to play an idea. We're going to sing an idea. So let's go back to our chord. We're thinking D minor. Let's just keep this super simple as it can get. Simple D minor triad. Let's just sing that idea and play it. Zo, zo, zo. Okay? I play my first idea. Now, we're going to move into the second L of the 3L framework. Once I've played this idea, now we move on to this second part of the framework, listen. Listen is also about hearing, all right? It's about hearing what I just played, listening to what I just played, and now singing another idea that's related to this idea. So we're kind of doing two things at once. We're taking a moment to acknowledge what we just played, and now to sing a new idea that's connected to what we just played in some way. If this is our theme, we're going to listen to that, zo, 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 and now we're going to come up with a variation on that theme. And let's just keep this super simple for now. I'm going to sing it first. Zion. Okay? We'll play it in a second. But what I've just done is the second L of this framework. Now I've listened to what I've played. I've sung a new idea. I played this. I sung a new idea. Zion. Okay? And now, for the third L of the framework, I'm going to play the idea that I just sang. And to align with our 3 L's, because I love my alliterative frameworks here, now we're going to play it. We're going to launch it. Okay? We're going to launch it. We're going to play it. All right? Remember I sang Zion as my variation on my original idea. So now I'm going to launch that idea. I'm going to play it. Okay? So again, first idea. I limited myself to this D minor triad. I'm going to take a moment, acknowledge what I played, sing a new idea, a variation on this theme. Zion. I can even close my eyes and really try and visualize that on the fretboard before I play it, right? See my fingers, going to that idea, Zion. And now I'm going to launch. I'm going to play it. Okay? Limit, listen, launch. That's what it is. The 3 L's. We limit what we're working with. We play something. We listen to what we just played. We take that moment to listen to what we just played. We sing a new idea that's connected to that idea, and then we play it. We launch it. The more you do this, this is going to develop those core skills of listening and reacting. And remember, our reaction time for improvisation needs to come from this to this. But this 3L framework, in the spirit of Miles Davis's solo on So What, where every idea is connected to the previous idea, we're thinking super simple materials. We're not thinking about really complex scales, complex modes. We're keeping things very simple. We're focusing on the skills that we need, not just the tools, the skills of listening and reacting. So in the spirit of Miles, the 3L framework is going to help us to develop those kinds of solos. It's going to help us to develop that ability to use theme and variation to tell stories. Now, in order to tell these stories, you're going to need a command of the basic building blocks of music, the basic DNA of music, which is intervals. And I've got a very, very powerful way for you to master intervals and master your fretboard fluency. Click here for that.